Dub Nation, you know what time it is. You know we're talking LeBron James here, as that's the biggest thing on the Warriors' minds heading into free agency. And speaking of free agency, it has actually begun for the Golden State Warriors. They can start dealing with their own free agents that will be potentially coming off of the books this offseason. You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Tyler Smith, and let's give you a little bit of a rundown as far as where we are at on the LeBron James to Golden State Warriors saga. Well, it started with a June 1st column from Tim Kawakami, who came out and said that a late marriage between LeBron James and Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors that may never have been more convenient than it is right now. And then Brett Siegel came out a couple days after that column and said Steph wants to meet with LeBron before free agency, and Golden State, quote, would look to pursue him. And then next thing you know, Mark Stein and Jake Fisher, an actual real bombshell insider report that Golden State remains legitimately interested in adding LeBron to their core of Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond. And then Brian Windhorst comes out and says he thinks the Warriors are the most likely destination if LeBron leaves the Lakers. It really is looking like Golden State has a legit chance to land LeBron this offseason. So manifest it for me down below. Even if it's not LeBron, if you want the Warriors to make a splash move this summer, do one thing for me, hit that thumbs up icon and like today's video, because now we've heard a new report from one Bill Simmons. Now, Bill Simmons is a guy who's normally tapped in with the Boston Celtics, but he is got a lot of sources in these league circles, and he said this with Zach Lowe on his pod over the weekend. The Warriors are really in play now, like for real. I really feel like if I had to bet my life on a team, I think I would bet on them. I think that would be the move for me. Now, it's not a concrete report or anything like that, but I'm telling you guys, Simmons does know things. He doesn't just say these things for no reason. He's not saying it with no merit or no backing or no reason to come out with a claim like that. He knows there's real juice and smoke behind Golden State adding LeBron James this offseason, and that's where he believes that he is going to go. Now, an NBC insider did come out and say as well that LeBron is asking for the max from the Lakers. He's asking for a lot of money. He's asking for the maximum that he can be paid this offseason on whatever it is, the 1+1 deal that he's been accustomed to over the last few seasons. Are the Lakers going to offer him that? Really is the question, right? Because if he doesn't get it, that's when we can start looking at him actually looking at a new home, because he is 41 years old. He has a family, and he's done with most of his business in the Southern California area over the last few years. But we also heard about the potential of the Warriors setting up some sort of commuting system for LeBron James so he can still deal with a lot of his business ventures in Southern Cal, and his family doesn't have to uproot them at 41 years old with only like a year left in his NBA career all the way up to San Francisco. What would that look like? I'm not so sure, but if LeBron doesn't get what he wants from the Los Angeles Lakers, which I don't necessarily anticipate to be the case. Like, I don't think the Lakers are going to offer him the max on this new deal. So once he hears that, that's when he can start doing business with other teams, potentially looking at an even massive more pay cut than he would get with the Lakers, I'm sure, this offseason, and looking at signing with the mid-level with a team like Golden State or other suitors that might be out there, because Rich Paul did say there are way more than just the Golden State Warriors. Will the Warriors sign LeBron James? Y for yes, N for no. Predict it for me down in the comments section. Let me know what your thoughts are here, because, like I said, Rich Paul did go out and say on the Pat McAfee show that 10 to 12 teams have expressed interest in adding LeBron James this offseason. Wow, what a bombshell. Teams are interested in adding LeBron? That's crazy talk. Never heard of something like that. No, but seriously, who would some of these teams be? Because there's only a handful that can offer cap space, like the Bulls and the Nets, but he is not going there. Lakers can do it too because of the bird rights, but if he doesn't get the max, I think he's going to be on his way out of LA. There's only a few other teams that can offer the full non-taxpayer mid-level exception, like your Golden State Warriors, so that's a possibility too. And there's teams like the Clevelands of the world who can only offer him the minimum contract. Like they're a second apron team. Yeah, if you want to make a return back to Cleveland, he could do it for $3.5 million next season, but I don't know that is going to be the case. Coming up next, though, we got to talk about the housekeeping and the things that the Golden State Warriors need to do with free agency that is now opened for their free agents. We'll tell you what they need to do in a second. First, a word from our presenting sponsor over at Prize Picks, America's #1 app for sports picks, where you just pick more or less on a few player stats, lock in your lineup, and win real money while watching your favorite sports. Yes, the NBA Finals is concluded and the hockey season is wrapped up too, but there's still baseball, MMA, golf, esports, all on the sports calendar. Get the WNBA as well you can take advantage of on Prize Picks, and You can also get $50 in lineups instantly into your account if you use our promo code HMA and play your first $5 lineup. One thing I love about Prize Picks is that it is so easy to play, and it's becoming a social event too, where you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups with a single click. You can follow me on the app as well at Tyler J. Smith to see some of my lineups that I'm throwing out there, including this one that is combining 3 different sports. Yes, I forgot to mention, you can actually combine all these different sports that are on the calendar in the same lineup. I got Federico Valverde of Uruguay to have more than 43.5 passes attempted. That was the World Cup discount of the day. Then Juan Soto, more than 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs combined there. And then Azzy Fudd, less than 14 points for the Dallas Wings. You can take my picks or fade them. Just do it at Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code HMA. You're getting $50 in lineups instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA. You play your first $5, boom, $50 into your account and lineups instantly. Link to download the app is clickable in the comment section and description of today's video. All right, here. So the offseason is actually heating up now. We're about 10 days away from the NBA draft. We're 2 weeks away from free agency officially opening for external deals in that moratorium period for things to be agreed upon. But now, as of today, all 30 teams have the opportunity to officially negotiate with the free agents that are on their books. The Warriors, in their case, they have 5 players on expiring deals that could be restricted or unrestricted free agents, 3 players on player options for the summer, and then 1 team option player. So let's go through some of the deals that Golden State has on their books here as free agency officially opens on June 30th. Kristaps Porzingis, we know, is like the big money expiring deal for the offseason for Golden State. I know I kind of didn't mention like Nate Williams and Charles Bassey, but come on, let's be honest here. Real guys who got in the rotation or were signed to legitimate deals last season, kind of more often than not before the year began, or in Seth Curry's case, in November. Kristaps Porzingis they brought in via trade, and that was at the deadline, and they absorbed $30.7 million on his expiring contract. We'll see what they do there. We'll obviously talk about Porzingis in a moment. GP2's been part of this thing for the long haul. Like, you have to imagine they would just keep him, like, perhaps Quinten Post, Seth Curry, and Pat Spencer there round out the expiring deals that are coming off of Golden State's books this summer. Let's talk about the player options real quick, because these are really where things start to get intriguing outside of the Porzingis front for the expirings. Draymond Green, $27.7 million. That's got to be worked out in some way, shape, or form. Al Horford, DeAnthony Melton, not as much wiggle room there to kind of maneuver some deals and make something else happen. They're either going to accept or decline, and if they decline, you could kiss either one of them goodbye from Golden State. Al Horford, $6 million around there, and then around $3.5 for DeAnthony Melton on that veteran minimum deal that he was signed last year. And then we got 1 team option on this team. Brandon Podziemski. What will this contract look like? This actually could be a move that I see the Golden State Warriors doing first, because he is on a rookie scale contract still for 26-27. So anything the Warriors do with Brandon Podziemski won't affect their cap space for this upcoming year. So I could imagine this is a deal that gets done relatively soon for Golden State here. What's it going to look like? I'm not 100% sure. Maybe something I would like to do is $16 million a year. If they can get 4 for $64 done for Brandon Podziemski, I'm all over making that deal happen. He can also, though, wait until next year and hit restricted free agency if he thinks his odds are better there. Make sure you're subscribed, though, because you're not going to miss a thing all offseason long. Every single Warriors move, it's going to get broken down here on the channel. So hit that subscribe button. Over 100,000 people already have made this their #1 spot for Warriors content on YouTube. You do it by going down below and subscribing today. Because Jake Fisher of the Stein line did say that the Warriors are, quote, hopeful they can re-sign Kristaps Porzingis on more of a cap-friendly deal. What does a cap-friendly deal look like for a guy who's just making $31 million? Well, from my point of view, I'm thinking Porzingis got to be making less than 10. I know. It might sound crazy because of the player that he can be, but for the player that he has been over the last calendar year, he does not deserve to be making the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Because what those guys who earn those contracts do is play basketball. And he doesn't. He just doesn't do it enough. He was constantly marred by the mystery illness. And there was also some other dinks and dunk injuries that are out there for him. He doesn't play basketball. Like it's tough for a team who already has enough aging veteran superstars and injury issues of their own to put their faith and big cap percentages to a guy who doesn't play basketball. I love Porzingis. Love the fit in Golden State. They can't go out there and just bury themselves financially for a guy they can't guarantee will be on the floor for 50 games in a season. So Porzingis front, I think they will get a deal done. But if some other team swoops in and offers $15 million a year for Porzingis, you can have him, bro. We're good. I'd imagine both D'Anthony Melton and Al Horford accept their player options here. Can't see like too much of a market for either one. Like Melton maybe could get something around the biannual or like a non-taxpayer mid, but like, or excuse me, a taxpayer mid-level exception. It's around $5 million. But he likes it in Golden State. He gets playing time in Golden State. Like, why would he really leave a situation that he's wanted to be in for each of the last 2 seasons? Al Horford, he said he had a great time in Golden State this year. He could also up and retire this offseason too. One thing I think is a little interesting, because we know how tapped in Tim Kawakami is, he believes it's unlikely that Golden State brings back both Porzingis and Horford here. Now, they don't really have a decision to make on Al Horford. That's all up to him with the player option. But they do have one to make on Kristaps Porzingis. And we'll see if Horford does accept that player option. Does Porzingis come back to Golden State? Tim Kawakami thinks it's unlikely. We will see what happens, though. The real domino that needs to fall for Golden State, we all know it, Draymond. What type of pay cut will Draymond Green be taking here, as he's a $27.7 million player option? I think it's got to be something fairly substantial. Like, I saw some people coming around saying $25 million. He literally just made $25 million this year. He made $25.9 million. So in what way, shape, or form is that a pay cut? It's not. I need him to go down to $20 million a year. How about a 3 for 60 or whatever it is, 2 for 40, 3 for 60 in the player option in the back year? Like, we can't be committing $25 million to Draymond Green in the year of our Lord 2026. That's bad business. But we also know that Joe Lacob's no stranger to doing bad business. So, could also happen. What about some minimum deals for Golden State? GP2 and Quinten Post. I feel bad for Quinten Post, man. Like, he really looked like he was going to be a part of this thing, like the rotation, the mainstay for a long time. Then they bring in Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis, who barely play basketball, and Post kind of falls out of favor, falls out of the rotation, and ends up getting hurt toward the end of the season. I still have high hopes for him. I would love to see him come back to Golden State here, but can't imagine he gets more than the minimum. Then Pat Spencer. He likely goes back on a 2-way deal of some kind, because, that was something that was converted in the middle of the season. Like, they don't really have enough room to bring him on and add him to the books, like, especially when the margins are super thin in terms of adding LeBron to this team and the hoops the Golden State's to jump through in order to make that happen, open up that non-taxpayer mid-level. I'd say Pat Spencer likely goes back to a 2-way contract. But you guys get in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on what Golden State's got to do with their own free agents. Which Warriors would you re-sign and which would you let walk? Let me know down in the comment section who they are, as that will do it for today's show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/WarriorsTV, for the latest and greatest on your Dubs all offseason long. See you guys next time, and as always, let's go Dubs.